ó ní gbogbo ẹ̀gbẹ̀ sí ní òtáwọ̀rọ̀ kọjá náà. Adífáfámúgbá èyí tó ń ṣàwó lọ síde Èkó wọ́n ní kó kalẹ̀ ẹbọ ni kó wá ṣe ẹ̀rẹ̀ ìdámúgbá yìí kápìlú ní bára. Nígbà tí amúgbá Èkó tó ń lọ yìí òun lè rí ṣe ń bẹ̀ tó ń lè kó wálé ọlárí ṣe o ọlárí kó wálé o wọ́n sì mọ̀ pé jẹ́ kárẹ̀ gba ẹ̀gbin kárẹ̀ gba ìyà.
Lagos is a city that has grown since the 16th century. It's almost 400 years now, and there are different accounts of the origin of the city. This journey is to unravel the different truths about the origin and the identities of Lagos. Lagos has grown from their plain pepper farm to a metropolitan city, one of the most economically viable in Africa today, with a population of over 20 million people. This is by no means a feat that happened overnight. It is a collective contribution of different groups of people who migrated into the city from the earliest days.
Oyo was a nearing empire, and there were migrations from Oyo Empire at the earliest time, or even at the time when Oyo Empire was broken by various wars, and people moved from one part, people moved particularly towards the lagoon, particularly towards the ocean, and people moved to Lagos.
So, there are claims and counterclaims on the original settlers of Lagos, the Awori sub-ethnic group that have traced their descent from Ile-Ife and Oyo, and agreed that they were overpowered by the Benins at some time, or the Benin group, who many historical sources have identified their affiliations to the very many indigenous institutions on the island of Lagos.
Lagos was founded based on the premise of history by two predominant interests. You have an Awori man who settled here. Then that is Ogunfunminire. From Ogunfunminire, one of his sons, Ashipa, inherited Lagos. Also, the Benins, on their own side, migrated. A prince of Benin migrated to Lagos, and with some of his chiefs, the Benin chiefs, they are also settlers. They had an interface with the Aworis. Eventually, history has that also documented that by a way or the other, they conquered the Aworis. The Aworis now Olofin moved to the present Ido, out of the island, now relinquished the island of Lagos to the Benins. Yet you still have predominant Awori and Benin.
Chieftaincy organization in Lagos is perhaps one of the most methodized systems that we have around. The chiefs are categorized according to their task and the responsibilities to the Oba and the society at large. You know, we have 4 of these categories. We have the advisors, who are mostly of Benin descent. We have the warriors, and we also have the landowners, who have claimed all to be Awori. Then, lastly, we have the priests, who are saddled with the responsibility of connecting with the deities and the gods.
Going by that classification, we have the Idejos, we have the Akaigberis, we have the Ogaladis, and we have the Abagbons. Those are the early settlers that were known in Lagos.
You know, when people say, who are the owners of Lagos? The way I like to handle it is, okay, these arguments, let us situate it within time. Because the claim is not Lagos State. Lagos State is made up of about 5 divisions. You have Epe, you have Badagry, you have Ikorodu, you have Greater Lagos, and you have Ikeja Agege area. An Epe man cannot tell you he's a Badagry man. Neither can a Badagry man say he's an Ikorodu man. Neither would an Ikorodu man come and say he's a Lagos, Greater Lagos person. And those people, they will still tell you they will probably say they are Wuris or they, okay? But in Lagos, because the dispute is Lagos, just like New York City. You have New York Town and you have New York City. So you have Lagos, you have Greater Lagos, and you have Lagos State. So let us not confuse the two. In Lagos, proper Lagos, so the Aworis are from Ikeja. In Lagos proper, as far as we are concerned today, just like the overship, we can say we are from Benin. Or, you know, we can either say we are from Ife via Benin, whichever way we want to put it. But for this argument, say we are from Benin. The Idejos, they can say they are also from Ife. And they are a product of the incident of Awori in Isheri. But by the time we all came into Lagos proper, we have metamorphosis into Lagos Kingdom, the Kingdom of Lagos. Meaning, the children of Olofin, who were part of the Awori group, they came into Lagos, and he had his children, and they formed the Royal Kingdom of Lagos with the Oba, and they are called Idejos. So in Lagos proper, we have Idejos and we have Obashi.
The Awori sub-ethnic group who have claimed their connection to Olofin Ogunfunminire, a prince that came to Isheri with his people from Ile-Ife. There are other sources that have said that it might actually not be Ogunfunminire that brought these people from Ile-Ife. However, the prominent and most common narrative is that Ogunfunminire came to Isheri, and from Isheri they migrated to Ido. So when they got to Ido, they moved to the island of Lagos. So in the actual sense, we might agree that Ogunfunminire is the progenitor of the Awori people of Lagos.
Ogunfunminire came from Ife. The incident of drowning Awo was in Isheri. They all found different directions, and they came to Lagos. So he came here with his children. When he came, and nobody has ever controverted this, the Benin got them to be paying royalty, Ishakole, which was being sent to Oba of Benin. So which, to all purposes and intent, maybe they didn't even form a community, but they were already trading. You had the great Benin kingdom, the Ife kingdom, the Oyo kingdom. They were already trading with the foreigners. Because you go into the archives, there's a big kingdom called the Benin kingdom, and they were interfacing with them. History is there.
Many questions here are begging for answers, especially when it comes to the actual location of the first settlers. Perhaps this might help to unravel the challenge of the claim of the real ownership of Lagos. It is important to state here that Lagos literally describes the island known to the locals as Eko.
There is an area on the island of Lagos called Isale Eko. Isale means the source, the beginning. The first part of everything. So Isale Eko is the source of Lagos. And it is there you have the palace of the Obas. It is there you have the palace of all the Benin chiefs.
The Awori people speak a variant of the Yoruba language referred to as the Awori dialect. But Awori dialect is not spoken at Ile-Ife, and the Awori people have claimed descent to Ile-Ife. So, how come? What is the evolutionary pattern of this dialect? And what language contact strategies happened to give us this particular variant of the Yoruba language?
The Awori, they are people who spoke a slurred form of what we call Yoruba language. When the Awori people are going, they say, we are going to Ebute Imu Ata. Imu means is the word for place. So the landing wharf, which is at the place where Ata is situated. So Ebute Imu Ata was corrupted to Ebute Meta by the Yoruba. Going further, you find Yaba too. There's no word like Yaba. It was the corruption of Iyaba. There used to be a village near where Hoa's Memorial Church is situated or something. So there's an old Yaba road. So before you get to that village, you have to branch away from the main road. So Yaba. So that Yaba becomes Yaba. And several other names like that. So these are a reminder to us that the Aworis have impacted on the development of Lagos and the history of Lagos, so totally that we cannot efface their presence or even a remote claim. But then it would be vulgar to say we own the. How are we? The Awori have left their mark more forcibly than other people. And if I may say so, the Jebus and also the Eguns, or the Guns, as they are, or Ogus as they were called. See, through place names, even through words in usage.
The Malay slave revolt of 1835 in Salvador de Bahia in Brazil can be considered as the genesis of the Brazilian returnees on the island of Lagos. Just so you know that most of the returnees that arrived in Lagos from Bahia were never Lagosians before they were captured. History has it that most of the captured slaves were from the hinterland. However, when they arrived in Lagos, they were easily integrated and their impact was immediately felt.
You are now in part of what we call Brazilian quarters, or in the old map to call it Portuguese town. I've seen Portuguese. Now, the place began to be settled about the 1835 or something like that, when you have the African slaves who participated in revolt in Bahia. They call it their Malay revolt. So the Brazilian authority decided to repatriate those who want to. So these are the origins of the people in this country. They are from what we call Yoruba country, mostly. And some are not even Yoruba, some are Igbo. But when they came here, it was They approached the Oba. I think the Oba then was, I think it was after the Idewojulari. It must be around the time of Oba Adele or so. So they gave them this part of the town. But the gift was not rationalized until the time of King Dosumu, when the British have totally overrun Lagos. And then the people here coming from through their own effort to settle here are settled in this part. Because there they find friends, relations who have abandoned the place, and that is how all this area where you have is known as Brazilian quarters. And many of them, though they may have changed their names now to Yoruba names, mostly bear Brazilian names. To the extent that even here, you still have, at that time in the early days, they still speak Portuguese or Brazilian Portuguese language, which has now died out virtually.
In 1861, the white men came on, those are where they established, that was when Lagosians were actually established by law. They called them the Aborigines of Lagos. When you now look at it, 1861 to now, you have about 150 years about. So which means for you to claim a core indigene, your family should originate from that class of people. In addition to that, the second class were the people that, as at 1861, the white man met. And as at that time also, you have the returning slaves who were returned to Lagos. So those who are returned to Lagos, in Lagos Island, they have a synonymous name. Their name is always synonymity with the white man, like the French people. It has their own pronunciation. You have the Da Costas, the Da Rochas, the Da Silvas, the Jones, and them. They have those origins. So most of their family too were, as at 1861, based on the island.
My ancestor came back from Brazil, where he'd been kidnapped and was enslaved. And he came back and settled back in Lagos in the 1840s. Now, some people take a date that anybody who can trace their lineage back to, let's say, 1861, when Lagos was the subject of the Treaty of Cession, that those are the real Lagosians. But that only would describe people who perhaps, in that case, are living on the island, okay? But then there are also, and again, the word Lagosian is interesting because does it mean people who are on the island? Does it mean people from Badagry? Does it mean people from Ekpe, from Ikorodu? All these different layers of personalities make up what is now Lagos State. And if you are the resident of a state, then are you not a Lagosian? So I think that the question really is not so much who are Lagosians, but who are Omoeko. I think if you can, for instance, prove that you've lived in a state for over 20 years, then yes, you are entitled to say that you belong to that place, because it would be unfair, right? But are you Omoeko? And I think Omoeko is a state of being. It's a state of the histories that you have. It's a state of the stories your grandparents told to you. If you are a Lagos resident and the stories, and you've lived here maybe since you were a child, maybe you're my age and you've lived from a child, but you went on holidays to see your grandparents in other states, are you Omoeko? when I can remember as in school, when I was in primary school, I can actually remember like at holidays, at Christmas, everybody else has somewhere else to go to, right? This is me. Okay, I don't have there's no hometown I have. My hometown is Esaleko. That's my hometown, and that to me is what Omoeko is. So Lagosian is, I think, can be inclusive of many, many people and many, many generations of people who have come and have settled and have worked and are entitled to call themselves that. But Omoeko, I think that's a different conversation.
Lagos is a mini, even before it became a state, it was a mini Nigeria. I would say it's the crucible in which Nigeria was formed and given direction for development. And anybody who is anybody, at least in the last, till at least the last maybe 20 years or so, all started from Lagos Island. Not even we go, Lagos Island. And they were welcome and they were treated like one of their own. So, having said that, it means you have different groups from other parts of Nigeria who are part of Lagos. You have the Hausas, you have the Tapas, you have the Jebu, you have Egba, you have Igbos. Everybody, they all form a tapestry of a beautiful state called Lagos, state of aquatic splendor and excellence. So they form a beautiful tapestry.
The Awori clamor for recognition has been ongoing for some decades now in Lagos. However, this has been met with serious opposition from some quarters in Lagos. How long this will go, we can't say, but the process continues.
The clamor for recognition of Awori is just like the clamor of people who were cut from Ijebu to form part of Lagos, or even areas called, because the boundary of Lagos used to be from Ikeja to the Atlantic. So going further down, they were carved from Ogun State. So if people from Egba or Ijebu are clamoring for recognition, or they form part of this tapestry I'm talking about, and out of them you have also Awori, because by the time you go to Songwater, which is part of Ogun, that is, they actually do not call themselves anything other than Aworis. The Aworis who came to Lagos Island, they call themselves Idejos. That is Lagos, the bigger Lagos. But when it comes to Lagos State, it's a different story. The indigenous people of Lagos have been here for centuries. Creation of Lagos State is just over 50 years. So, there's no way you can equate your rights with those who have been here for centuries. And all of us, and I hear people say, everybody came from somewhere. Everybody came from somewhere to the world. When the world was created, it was Adam and Eve. And look at how many millions, billions we have become. So we all came from Garden of Eden. It is only, so there's no argument there.
Look, what good does it make to me that I am the owner of Lagos or the Awori Lagos? Why? They want perhaps some advantage over others who can say they are not something. Unless we don't overemphasize the factor of ownership, this is something, we are going to lose out in the end and create unnecessary tension. Shey the Benin who are in that place now, who has never been to Lagos here, or the Awori whose origin themselves are so nebulous to themselves. You see, because of the contemporary politics, people have been fanning. The Awori has Lagos, the Benin has Lagos. Okay, it's only good for, but does it prevent political action from being taken? No.
The history of Lagos is not obscure. We were learned people. We had been exposed to the international world even before people started coming to Lagos from the hinterland. So our history were documented. And we know who is who and where we're coming from. So there was no, so for people to start saying that some people are Benin, some people are, it's not true. In Lagos Island, we don't have Awori. What we have is we have Obaship and we have Idejos. Because Awori incident happened in Ogun State, in Sherry. And you had the children, the people, they went to different parts of the Southwest. And the ones who came, that is Ogunfumilere or Olofin, is the one who came towards the Lagos Island with his children. And his children today are the Idejos. They don't call themselves Aworis. They call them Idejos. And they sit in council with the Oba of Lagos and administer Lagos. And that is what has been happening for centuries. So for anybody to come now and start telling us Awori, and maybe after the creation of the state, part of Ogun State, of course, was merged with the greater Lagos. So from that angle, you can have Aworis within the state. But when you are talking about the origin of Lagos, the indigenous people of Lagos were Obaship and Idejo.
Lagos developed from an organic place, a unit, entity, and it grew both northwards and except towards the lagoon, away from the lagoon. And you know, there's original settlers in this organic unit we are talking of. But due to urbanization and the rapid growth of Lagos, I think Lagos has developed into a cosmopolitan city that embraces all that comes in. And the way it has developed, it has absorbed everybody that wants to do something in Lagos. Lagos has the capacity to provide for whatever you want. And as a result of this, we've had various indigenes coming in and settling in particular areas of the states. If you go to Ojo area, you have mostly those from the east of the country. If you go to Shomolu, Bariga enclave, you have the Jabus who predominates there. And there are some areas also where you have the Egbas. And also, if you go to our waterways, the Jos and the Lages predominates here also. But Lagos, as a cosmopolitan state, has come to absorb many of these very diverse interests. And by virtue of its waterways, access to many ponds, many areas in the country, also access to some major cities outside the country as a gateway to the country, has the capacity to keep absorbing many of these people. And the way Amana Lagos has grown has allowed everybody to sort of have this sense of belonging that now gives us that impression is a no man's land. They are original settlers of Lagos, and Lagos belongs to those people.
People were here, and when you came, you were accepted. And we still recognize your right to live here, at least according to the Constitution of Nigeria. But you still have indigenous people, just like you have the indigenous people in the Rivanari area. It was in existence long before, centuries before 1914, at the amalgamation of Nigeria. One of the Portuguese wrote that he came to the palace of the Oba of Lagos and met the king wearing a beautiful Muslim outfit. drinking champagne with mussels. Mussel is son. Long before Nigeria came into being, written by a Portuguese trader. Met the king, beautifully attired in white outfit, drinking champagne with mussels. Not with caviar, our own local delicacies of mussels. That is our stock. And then somebody comes from nowhere, 100 years, 150 years, or 50 years, and says, Lagos is it. They should be ashamed to even voice it. Because anybody who says that from now on, then you know he's an illiterate and an ignoramus. Who thinks Lagos starts from his own point of entry. And how long can his own point of entry be? 100 years? 150 years? Even 200 years? Not to talk of people who actually come yesterday and they too are saying their negotiations. People came 50 years and said, I don't know anywhere else I'm negotiating. Fine, nobody is controverting that. But you have indigenous people, just like you have indigenous people from where you are coming from. And their rights are recognized. So I think we should advise ourselves not to even use that phrase anymore because it spells ignorance.
In 1910, I believe, 1910, the British did a census of how many people were in Lagos. And the returnees at that time made up 10% of the population. So it's a sizable amount. So obviously I'm Gomez, but there's also Pinero, Darosha, Da Silva, Martins. The names, Da Costa, Cardoso. The names are there, but I think we've become perhaps so familiar with these names that we actually don't think, oh, okay, it's okay, yeah, really, yes. So, and I think that perhaps moves are being made amongst the community to appreciate that heritage. Yes, but I think more certainly needs to be done because I think it's a very unique heritage, and it's a heritage that, if it's not articulated, okay, it sounds to young people as though it's very far away, okay?
So in promoting the status of Lagos as a cosmopolitan city, it is very important to also recognize and preserve and promote her heritage, starting from the traditional institutions, from the authorship to the cultural events such as the Eyo and the Igunuko Festival, and then also, more importantly, the role of women in society. Women in Lagos traditionally have not suffered much discrimination. And finally, and even more importantly, in this age of modernism, it's very important to retain the relics of our heritage, particularly the preservation and conservation of heritage building and heritage-built environment.
The history of a built heritage is very important, okay? Because sometimes people need to see the physicality of a thing to believe that it exists, okay? So if you're telling the story of, say, people who had been enslaved and had now been able to drag themselves up from being enslaved, to have earned enough money to have paid for their freedom, would have worked enough money to charter a boat to come back to at least the last port that many of them could remember, to now decide to settle in that place and to work again hard enough to build those kind of houses. It sounds like a fairy tale. So if you're trying to persuade young people that this is a history that shows that you can have hope and that you can work hard and that you can overcome circumstances, if those houses don't exist anymore, are they going to believe you? I think it would make it much harder. I think those buildings have to be preserved because they show how Lagos was at that time. They show how a people were developing. They show how the city had links with Bahia and Brazil at that time. And I think that they're just beautiful buildings. I think that they're buildings that can, many of them, if you don't have to keep them the same as they are inside. Those are architects' jobs. But you can keep the facade. You can turn them to other uses. They don't necessarily have to just be residential.
The history of Lagos abounds with heroic women. And the first one is Erelu Kuti the First, who was the daughter of King Gado, the first king, who was the daughter of King Gado and a sister of King Akinsemoyin. She controlled the market. At that time, the trading was not with hinterland of Nigeria, it was with the Portuguese and foreigners coming from abroad who discovered this island, the royal island of Lagos. And of course, the infamous slave trade, but there were other goods that were traded in. And she would be the one, when it comes to the trading part of it, she's the one who interfaces with these foreigners when they come. And so if you want to be part of the market, and you want to have wares and goods to sell, you have to be in favor with Erelu Kuti. And anything that was exceptional, like velvets or fabrics and all that, she's the one who would decide who would wear it. And usually, maybe they send some to Oba Benin's or the Oba in Lagos. So she, till today, and that culture exists till today, the head of the market is still the Erelu Kuti. And under that umbrella, you champion the cause of women. Lagos, we didn't discriminate between boys and girls when it comes to education. Lagos families, everybody was educated, both men and women. All the first lawyers, doctors, I can name old families in Lagos, women, boasting of doctors, lawyers, our grandparents who were all educated. So for us in Lagos, and I believe it became a template for other parts of the country, which I think is fast enhancing the development of the fortune of women and by extension, development of Nigeria.
I also think that heritage is not just buildings. Okay? Every Good Friday, people who are of Brazilian heritage tend to eat feijão. Feijão is a dish from Brazil made with beans and coconut. That cooking and serving and eating of feijão is also a heritage. Mm-hmm. The cooking and eating and serving of mengao, which we all have just absorbed, mengao is a Brazilian dish. Yes. Canjica is a Brazilian dish. Those dishes have become part of, you go to a wakekeeping, you take mengao. You don't understand that you are following the tradition of the Brazilians who brought it back.
It's a form of identity.
It's a form of identity, and it is a form of heritage as well. Yeah, so heritage doesn't just have to be, this is the building block. It's the stories you tell, it's the food you eat, it's your outlook to the culture that shapes you.
The role of Lagos as a subnational is very critical to the development of this country. There are people who already had a means of life, who are up there. They believe Lagos is for everybody. And they are coming in with investment, and I want to say they are welcome. But there is a disturbing issue I've noticed. They are taking over our shorelines. They are taking over our shorelines. They are buying into those shorelines and are reclaiming lands. And lands are more around the shoreline, and they are eating deep into the lagoon. There is a problem around banana. Banana is no longer banana again. I think it's like a what's it called? Watermelon now. And the ministry is envisaging a problem into the future. Because at the back end of Banana Island, there is a proposal to have a lagoon highway in the future. I can tell you, when we are ready, when government is ready to construct that road, there may be no land to construct that lagoon highway. People have reclaimed Banana Island so much that they are almost touching the high tension wire that divides Banana and the Lekki Phase 1. And it's a real concern for us. The problem here is the rate at which indigenes are giving out their lands. I remember when the blast happened at Abule-Ado, and we did an inventory of all landowners' allottees in Abule-Ado. I can tell you about 95% are non-indigens. And the question is, where are the indigens? What's happening to their land? And that's what obtains virtually everywhere, especially along the shoreline in Lagos. And
recently there was the mention of traditional rulers selling out indigenship to non-indigene. To us as government, we believe the tradition, the chieftaincy institution are the custodian of the culture and the indigenization of Lagos. So that's why we demand a letter from a traditional ruler attesting to the indigenship and narration of how that particular person is related. At times you have, maybe by the mother is an indigene, the father might be a non-indigene. So the family might decide, well, if it's their own wish as their family, is one of us, so because through the mother. But to us, we first get the Oba, the traditional institution that attests that this is an indigene.
Lagos traditionally has been an entrepot. It has always been a place that welcomes strangers. It has always been a place where strangers are welcomed and encouraged to stay. Okay? Lagos has its identity, but Lagos also changes and adapts to what the strangers bring. So I think Lagos has a multiplicity of identities. I think all those identities together are woven together to make the wonderful city that we have.
I would like to say to everybody, everyone is welcome in Lagos. We are all people of Lagos, but also you have people whose ancestors have created this conducive atmosphere for all of us to be able to coexist in peace. So please, acknowledge their interests and give support to actualize the interests of your hosts in Lagos.
What the different narratives tell us is that Lagos has grown, and no matter the account, it's important to note that in spite of your cosmopolitan status, Lagos is still an indigenous city. The indigenes who have been here for over 400 years, their legacy and their heritage must be preserved. So as the city is growing and becoming this model mega city and African icon, it's important that the culture, the tradition, and the norms of indigenous people are preserved for posterity.
Yeah, brand new Joe Kenny production. It's official. Come on.
And the music where we play, we do it in our own
Yeah.
style.
Lagos Anthem. Fortnite. Two-Face DBS. Ella Joe. Cool DJ Jimmy Jam.
I reside in Lagos, the city of hustlers. Everybody's in a hurry, traders and customers. Rockets get picked on a regular. If you're not street, you gon' pop with your cellular. You're driving, I suggest you check your rear view. Be careful, cause a knockout I just might be near you. Knock one of them down and the rest gon' tear you to pieces. Hey yo, welcome to the jungle. Where the damn fool drivers always try to fumble. Rush hour bus stops are like the Royal Rumble. And the P.O. run things, all we do is rumble. Everybody red eye, ain't nobody humble. Trip and tumble into the eternal abyss. Half the people hold a grudge, the other keep malice. Play chalice, too much job. If you don't get, no go,
This Lagos where we there, so this streets where you the see, so all the people where we see, we love them. And the music where we play, we do it in our own style. We do it in our own style. We do it in our own style.
I want this.
We do it in our own style. I remember well the beginning of the struggle, when we used to hang around the block doing acapellas and just staying out of trouble. It seems like yesterday when we started the game, hoping for some fame and some fortune. Now what's the gain if no pain? That explains all the hustle and the bustle. Like when we enter bus game stop because we don't get money. Getting to Ikeja, it was not very funny. When we started, I mean the dogs with the mental. Back then, now Jimmy Jack, now they give us instrumental. And up till now, we still just stay strong. They hold on, the struggle still goes on. Up till now, we still there, we ain't going nowhere. This Lagos where we there, so these streets where you the see, so all the people where we see, we love them. And the music where we play, we do it in our own style. We do it in our own style.
Still in here. DJ Jimmy Jam.
We do it in our own
Fortnite.
style.
Two-Face DBS. About now. A main man. Thoroughbred. Ella Joe.
Whoever thought Niger go come educate like this? Get the game to elevate, not lift. Wonder how Mother Africa fell when foreigners enslaved that kid. Some killed, some taken away, yo, caged in ships. Wonder how she feels now when she sees how we come direct. Plus, but we can change the script like Spike Lee. Do the right thing in any profession, even the things they had for Lagos when they enterprising. No, they joke, approach the game down to end like lightning or Chris Rock, so don't be shocked. How we're thinking real hip hop from the streets to the mainstream without watering down. We still get the same spins with the whackness. Of course, you know we're terminating, fella mindset. Of course, you know we ever blazing in the mix like Jimmy. You know my power moves ain't static. We endless you every time, nothing but classic styling.
This Lagos where we there, so this streets where you the see, so all the people where we see, we love them. And the music where we play, we do it in our own style. We do it in our own style. We do it in our own style. We do it in our own style.
Yeah. Now you know the definition of unification. Cool DJ Jimmy Jam. Point bit. Question back. Kenny's music. Storm in the building. Now you know. Yeah. Here we go. Lagos Anthem.